Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 241. Today I'm going to talk about 8-Minute Empire Legends. Now this is sort of the follow-up to 8-Minute Empire. This was a game that was on Kickstarter. It doesn't take 8 minutes. This box says it takes 8 to 20 minutes. That's about right. It's kind of a really super streamlined civilization game. At least the original one is, where you're kind of drafting cards, taking area control over different territories. I shouldn't have said civilization game. It kind of feels like it to me because you're really expanding over sort of large continents and things, similar to a civilization game. Now the difference with this one is it doesn't play up to 5, and it also has a different sort of card choosing mechanism. Now the basic mechanism of choosing cards and paying, further down the row is the same, but these cards are more about different special abilities and different, additions and things that are going to happen, whereas the first one was just about collecting different resources. So you kind of balance the resource collection versus the, territory control here. This one has a lot more little variability and things that you can add to it. Let's just go ahead and take a look at how it plays, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, here I've got the game set up for 3 players. The game is made up of these different map boards, and there are a couple extra ones. They're all double-sided, and this makes for a fair amount of replayability in terms of the scope and everything in the game. Now you could probably use the maps from the original game or use these maps in the original game. One thing you couldn't do would be to mix and match the cards that come from the game. So if you have both games, there is a ton of sort of variability that you can add here. Now the rules give some basic guidelines for how to set these up, but you could really kind of play around with this, do some different things. Here you can see we have sort of the starting city, the starting zone marked here, and each player is going to have 4 cubes or 4 armies in their color there, and then another cube out somewhere else on the board. Now from here, the game's going to play out relatively like the original game. Players are going to have a different amount of starting money based on the number of players. You're going to have an opening blind bid to see who goes first. Whoever bids the most will have to pay their coins back into the bank, and then any coins that you have left over will be the total amount of coins you have throughout the game. Now there are some cards and things that will give you a coin here and there, but for the most part that's what you start with. So you basically have 2 goals in the game. One is to have sort of majority over these different regions here, and also have majority over a particular board. So right now, for example, the purple player has control of that region because they have, they own a cube there. If you have the most cubes in a zone here, then you have control of that. It'll be worth 1 victory point. If, let's say, purple controlled most of the different regions on this board, they would get an extra victory point for controlling the whole board. And so you're going to add up all those at the end of the game, and then you're also going to get victory points for some of the different things on the different cards that you're going to choose in the game. So let's take a look at those cards. So here we've dealt out a row of 6 cards, and the game comes with this little marker here to show you the cost to acquire the card. So the leftmost one is going to be free, and then 1, 1, 2, 2, and finally $3 to get the last one. As cards are chosen, new ones will come off the deck here, and these will slide down and become cheaper over time. Now, when you're choosing a card, which is basically the entirety of your turn, you choose a card and do what it says and then go. You're going to be looking at 2 different things. First thing is the bottom area here. This is going to be an immediate action that has to do with what's happening on the board there. Either adding new cubes, building cities, moving cubes, different things like that. So for example here, you can take this and you can add 4 of your army cubes right onto the map. And so there's a couple of spots where you can add these here. Now the first spot is always going to be that starting city. And then you can start adding them elsewhere once you build your little fortresses or your own cities here. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So at this point I could put these cubes out here and or in this spot there. So that's what this is. When you just see cubes kind of by themselves, you're going to add new ones. This one basically gives you 6 movement points. So if I were the white player here, for example, I could say maybe move him 1, 2, and then 3, and then 4, 5, and then maybe this guy's 6 for whatever reason. Or you could have one guy go a bunch of places. You could have go 1, 2, 3, and move like that. Now, if you ever move over one of these dotted lines here, that's going to cost you 3 movement points. So let's reset the situation here. White has 6 movement. He could go 1, and then 4, and then now he's got 2 more movement here, so maybe he could go out like this, and so that kind of gives him a little bit more of a spread out type of area there. So remember, it's always 3 movement to get across there. There are other abilities though that will reduce that. See, you got some cards here that you can add new ones or move other ones. You can do this one here, which is to basically move 4 and add a new one. This one will let you add 4 to an area and destroy one of your opponents. All you need to do is have a cube in that area. So as long as you have a single cube, you can remove one of your opponent's cubes. Finally, if you select a card with a little city symbol on there, then that's how you're going to add a city. And simply to add a city, all you need is to have a cube in a spot. Now you can never add a city where the starting city is, and there can only be one city per spot. So if I was green here and I drew that card, I can add the city there. And now this gives me the ability to add new troops here and not just in the starting spot. And when you're considering majority at the end of the game, this also counts as basically one of your cubes. You count it as one of your pieces when considering control. Well, that's all well and good. This has to do with basically one way to score points during the game, and that's, control of the board out here. Let's look at some other capabilities of the cards. Now for that, we're going to look at the top of the cards here. So one thing you can see here is we do have these little vials here. And so at the end of the game, you can take a look here at the little player aid here. So it says you get 1 victory point per region, 1 per total island, and then whoever has the most of these is going to get 2 movement points. Now there are some other cards in here that will do different things, like give you special abilities. So for taking this card and keeping it in front of you, anytime you move, you're going to get 1 extra movement. So if we look at this here, this guy here, basically you're going to move 4 and then do a new army. But if I had this one in front of me, or even him, I'm going to get 2 extra movements there whenever I take an action that has a move, like this one here. And there is a bunch of special abilities here. So we've got this one. Whenever I take an action to add a new cube on the board, and I have this, I can add an additional one. And then some of these are going to give you victory points. So this is going to give me 1 victory point per cursed card. And that is basically any card that just says cursed. So as you see these come out, you can see what other players you're trying to get, what you're trying to get, and then you're going to get some extra victory points that way. Now if you have flying here, this is going to reduce the cost to move across one of these dotted lines here by 1. So for every flight card, you're going to be able to more easily traverse and jump to these different islands. What else we got here? So this one, +1 per arcane card. It's already an arcane card, so there's going to be victory points there. Here you got +1 victory point per flying. So for each wing card, you're going to get an extra victory point. And then that also ties in well with this card, which is +1 per curse card. So you can kind of get those to work in conjunction. Some more movement, 1 victory point per forest card, 1 victory point per ancient card. If you get this one, you're immune to attack. So whenever somebody takes the ability there to remove it, it can't choose you. There's 2 mountain cards here. So if you have both of those, you get 3 points. A couple of different things here. This one, for example, will give you an extra vial to consider at the end of the game and $2, which is kind of nice. This one, there's 3 noble cards in the game. If you have all 3 of those and no more or no less, then you get 4 points. So that's a nice little injection of points at the end of the game. A couple other things in here like that. There are some, here's one, you get +1 victory point per 3 coins at the end of the game. So if you take sort of a conservative approach in spending your money, then that can be worth a fair amount of points at the end of the game. Now there are a fair amount of options you can add to the game. The first thing we can talk about here are these leader cards here, and each player can get one of these, and these are just give you sort of a special ability to go into the game with. These are pretty cool because we can put these out here, and then if you control the region with one of these markers in here, you actually get 2 points for that region instead of 1. So that adds a lot of dynamics in terms of the points you get from the cards versus the points you get on the board. I kind of like how this kind of changes that up because it makes the board worth a little bit more, and it has some nice juicy spots that kind of balance out the amount of points given by the cards there. And then you can have little spots like this. So basically the first person to build a city in a spot here will be able to take this, and then they get the 2 vials at the end. Or you can take this one here, and that gives you that special ability of being able to create 1 more army at the start of the turn. This one here, you can put this sort of a dastardly one here. You can put this out as the bandit, and anytime you basically move through a particular zone with that, you're going to have to pay $1. And then this is a neat one here. You can take this and put this out. This is one of the dragons there, and you can see that has 7 armies. So whoever places that 7th cube, even you're going to total up everybody's cubes in that spot. Whoever puts that 7th one down is going to be able to take that dragon. And then this guy's worth 2 points at the end of the game. So you can really play with a lot of the different things that happen here. You know, you can get this one, this is a book, this is basically worth a point. But at the end of the game, if you're tied, you automatically win. You don't have to go through all the different tiebreakers. You've also got portals that you can add to basically give some quick shortcuts on the map. And then also finally, you can turn all these face down, and then you can include here one of these little nasty swamps, and that's actually worth minus points at the end of the game. So when you build a city, you don't know what you're actually building it. You could get a cool ability, or you could get some minus points at the end of the game. So there's a lot of flexibility and stuff to add to this game. It really is a lot kind of packed in. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. I liked the first version of this, just the 8-Minute Empire, but I really like this with the Legends. It's really cool. You got the nice flexibility like I was talking about with the variability, the things that are going to happen on the board, the things are going to have different values, so people are going to kind of go for one or the other. I will say I don't really like it with 2. You put out some fake blocks from a 3rd player, and which is fine. The area control and stuff, that works fine, but you kind of lose the dynamics of being able to choose you know, the cards and, you know, base that off of not just one other person. It gets a little bit, I don't know what the word is, it's I guess samey and dry with 2 as far as the card stuff goes. I like just having that 3rd player. It's not bad with 2, but I would definitely recommend, if you get this, to play it with 3 and 4, which is really, really fun. The art is really, really nice on this game. All of the games from Red Raven Games, the art is really good. I really like his style, the illustrative style, and it's very unique. It doesn't look like, you know, every other kind of fantasy game and things like that. He's got a very unique, you know, he has characters are definitely individualized and characterized and all that stuff. It's a very simple game. I really enjoy it. It doesn't take very long to play, like 15 minutes. And I really would recommend this one. Now, if you have the first one, then I would totally recommend this one, because you're going to be able to swap the maps out. Now, I haven't done any of that, but I don't see why you couldn't. I don't see why you couldn't play with these modular boards using the basic cards just to do the resources. It's just kind of a nice change of pace between the 2 games. So definitely recommend this game. Now, just a little spoiler here to show you how much I like this game. This video and the one I'm going to do shortly, they're going into my top games of the year. This one is a fantastic, you know, sort of a lunchtime filler game. And I'm just really blown away about how it sort of evolves and plays out dynamically with the card choices. So I'm kind of trying to squeeze this one in. We've been playing this at work at lunch, and I'm trying to get to do that video. So I've got one more game to review, because I want to review all the games that are going to be in the video. But the way the dynamics of that card works out is really neat. There's a lot of interesting decisions, because it's not just, you know, compared to the first game, you know, do I take this for a little bit of area control, you know, manipulation, versus, you know, I'm going to get a couple, maybe another point with the extra carrot or whatever. This one's very dynamic, because I don't want him to get that extra mountain card, because that's going to be worth a lot of points. I don't want him to get that extra noble card. I've got to take it. I have to take it. But then I'm foregoing, you know, building up a nice sort of, you know, city or conglomeration of army units on an island and really dominating that island for myself. So there is a lot of meaty weight there, and I like how there's some cards that have to do with the money. Now, in the first game, you basically should just spend all your money. In this one, that card may come up that gives you extra points for every 3 coins, and that's something to consider, because you can get, you know, 4 or 5 points out of that. Not 5, but you could get 3 or 4 points out of that, you know, if you play your cards right. So there's a lot more weightiness to the decisions, if you will. Anyway, so that's 8-Minute Empire Legends. Look for it in an upcoming end of year video, but really kind of surprised. I did enjoy the first one. I liked it for what it was. I liked the feel of it, and sort of the concept, the kind of the goal of where it was going. And I thought, for the most part, it made it there. You know, some folks in my group did not like that one as much. But this one really is, you know, adding on to that idea. Really kind of, that design's really kind of come to its full fruition, if you will. So anyway, check it out for sure. You got to take a look at it. Thanks.